Imagine sitting down to dinner after a long day. You take a big bite of a delicious sandwich or a forkful of your favorite salad, and suddenly you hear a loud crunch that definitely wasn't a crouton. You freeze. You carefully reach for a napkin, hoping you haven't just chipped a tooth. Finding something in your food that absolutely does not belong there is an experience most of us have had at least once, and it is never pleasant. Welcome back to Beyond the Label, the podcast where we decode the science of what you eat. Today, we're wrapping up our food safety mini-series with Season 2, Episode 4. Over the last few episodes, we've covered the first two major categories in food safety hazards. In Episode 2, we talked about biological hazards, the microscopic living bugs like bacteria, viruses, and molds that can cause foodborne illnesses. In Episode 3, we tackled chemical hazards, the invisible toxins, both natural and man-made, that contaminate our food supply. Today, we're taking on the final piece of the food safety puzzle, physical hazards. We're going to explore what they are, how they manage to sneak into your food, the cutting-edge technology the food industry uses to stop them, and what you can do to protect your teeth, your throat, and your peace of mind. So let's get into it. To start, what exactly is a physical hazard in the context of food safety? While biological and chemical hazards are often invisible to the naked eye, physical hazards are very tangible. A physical hazard is any extraneous, solid foreign object found in food that has the potential to cause physical harm or injury when eaten. The difference is crucial. You don't see salmonella on a piece of chicken, and you can't see heavy metals in a bag of rice, but you definitely can see and feel a shard of glass or a piece of metal. Physical hazards generally fall into two broad categories, natural and unnatural. Natural physical hazards are part of the food itself that was supposed to be removed but accidentally got left behind. Think of bones in a fillet of fish that was labeled boneless, or a sharp piece of eggshell in your scrambled eggs. It could be a fruit pit in a jar of cherry jam, or a tiny hard stone mixed in with a bag of dry lentils. These things originate from a food or its natural growing environment, but they become hazards because they aren't supposed to be consumed. Then, we have the unnatural or man-made physical hazards. These are objects that have absolutely no business being anywhere near your food. We're talking about glass shards, metal fragments, plastic pieces, and wood splinters. It also includes personal items that can accidentally fall into food during preparation, like jewelry, hair, and even bandages. Finally, it includes packaging materials, like a piece of cardboard box or the plastic film wrap that accidentally gets chopped up in the final products. How do these objects actually get into our food? The reality is the journey from farm to fork is long, complex, and full of opportunities for things to go wrong. Let's trace the path, starting on the farm. When agricultural equipment harvests crops, it scoops up a lot of earth. If you're harvesting potatoes or dry beans, the machine is naturally going to pick up small stones, twigs, or dirt clods from the field. If those aren't filtered out later, they become physical hazards. Next, food moves to manufacturing and processing facilities. These are massive operations filled with heavy machinery, conveyor belts, grinders, and mixers. Equipment undergoes intense wear and tear. If a metal screw rattles loose and falls into a mixer, or a wire mesh screen used for sifting flour frays and snaps, metal fragments can end up in the food. Glass is another huge risk here. If an overhead light bulb shatters on the factory floor, or a glass jar breaks in the assembly line, those tiny invisible shards are a massive physical hazard. Transportation and packaging are also vulnerable points. Food is often transported on large wooden pallets. If a pallet splinters, a piece of wood can pierce a bag of ingredients. During packaging phase, machines that cut and seal plastic wrappers can sometimes misfire, slicing off a tiny ribbon of plastic directly into the food container. And of course, we have to look at restaurants and our very home kitchens. This is where human error usually introduces physical hazards. A chef's drink slips off while kneading dough. A brightly colored bandage falls off a prep cook's finger. A home cook accidentally drops a plastic tab from a bread bag into the soup pot. It happens faster than you might think. When these foreign objects are swallowed, the health risks are immediate and completely different from getting a stomach bug. The primary dangers are choking, which is especially dangerous for young children and the elderly. Then, there are lacerations, cuts to the mouth, tongue, or throat caused by sharp edges on glass or metal. Hard objects like stones or fruit pits frequently cause broken or chipped teeth, leading to painful and expensive dental visits. In the most severe cases, swallowing a sharp piece of metal or glass can cause internal injuries to the digestive tract that require emergency surgery. Now, that sounds incredibly intimidating, but before you decide to exclusively eat pureed food for the rest of your life, let's talk about how the food industry fights back. Food manufacturers don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They use a system called Hazard analysis and critical control points. This is a scientific, systematic approach to identifying where hazards might occur and putting strict controls in place to stop them. For example, to prevent glass contamination, most modern food processing plants have completely banned glass light bulbs on the production floor, replacing them with shatterproof LED fixtures. To prevent bandages from becoming a new hazard, food workers are required to use special, brightly colored bandages, usually neon blue, because blue is rarely a color found in natural food. Furthermore, these blue bandages often contain a thin, sharper metal inside them. Why metal? Because of technology stationed at the end of the production line. Before a packaged product goes into a box to be shipped at a grocery store, it almost always passes through a metal detector. These aren't like the metal detectors at the airport. They are highly sensitive machines calibrated to detect fragments of stainless steel, iron, or aluminum as small as a millimeter. If the machine detects metal, like a loose screw, a frayed wire, or one of those metallic blue bandages, it triggers an automated arm and instantly punches the specific package off the conveyor belt into a reject bin. But what about non-metal hazards like glass, stones, or high-density plastics? For those, industry relies on X-ray inspection of systems. Just like a medical X-ray looks at your bones, these machines look inside a closed box of cereal or a sealed jar of pasta sauce to find foreign objects based on their density. There is also optical sorting technology. Imagine thousands of dry black beans flying through the air on a processing line. High-speed cameras take pictures of every single bean in a fraction of a second. If the camera spots something that isn't the exact color, shape, or size of a black bean, like a small dark field stone, it sends a signal to the microjet of air that literally shoots the stone out of a stream of beans while they're mid-air. It is an incredible piece of engineering. However, no system is 100% perfect. Sometimes machinery breaks, screens fail, or a hazard is too small for the detector to catch. When that happens and a physical hazard makes it to the consumer, a food recall is triggered. If you ever see the FDA or the USDA issue a recall for extraneous materials or foreign objects, this is exactly what they're talking about. Usually, a recall happens because a few consumers found a plastic or metal in a specific batch of product and reported it. The company then voluntarily pulls the entire batch from the store shelves to prevent anyone else from getting hurt. Recalls aren't a sign that the system is broken. They are proof that the safety net works when error occurs. Despite all this technology, there are still a few myths floating around that we need to bust. The first myth is if my food looks clean, it is completely safe. We know this isn't true. A small piece of clear glass in a jar of clear jelly is virtually invisible. A field stone in a bag of lentils blends right in. Visual inspection isn't always enough. Myth number 2. Physical hazards only happen in a massive industrial factory. False. Your home kitchen is a prime location for physical hazards. Using a knife with a loose rivet, opening a plastic ring with your teeth, or cooking while wearing a loose ring can easily introduce physical hazard into your family's dinner. The third myth is restaurant food can contain foreign objects. Commercial kitchens are fast-paced, high-stress environments. Scouring pads used to clean pots can leave behind tiny wire fibers. Plastic wrap can easily get lost in a massive salad bowl. Restaurants have strict safety protocols, but human error is always a factor. So how can you protect yourself and your family? It all comes down to a few practical habits. First, inspect your groceries. If you buy a product and notice the packaging is damaged, ripped, or missing its safety seal, do not eat it. A compromised package can allow foreign objects to enter the food during transit. Second, safely prepare your produce and grains. If you're making a soup with dry beans, peas, or lentils, spread them out on a baking sheet first. Sort through them with your fingers, and pick out any small stones or hardened dirt clods that the farm equipment might have missed. Third, be cautious with meat and fish. Even if a product is labeled boneless, the USDA allows for a very small bone fragments to officially remain. As medical deboning isn't absolutely flawless, chew carefully when eating fish fillets or ground meats. Fourth, pay attention to food recalls. If you have a recalled item in your pantry, throw it away or take it back to the store for a refund. Don't risk it. And finally, if you do find a foreign object in a packaged item, report it. You can contact the manufacturer using the number on the back of the package, and you should also report it to the FDA or USDA. Your report could be the one that triggers a recall and saves someone else from a serious injury. Food safety is a massive, incredibly complex global effort. Over this 4-part series, we've looked at the living bacteria that threaten to make us sick, the chemical toxins that try to slip past our defenses, and today, the physical objects that can cause us harm. Understanding biological, chemical, and physical hazards isn't about being afraid of the grocery store. It's about understanding the science behind your food. When you know what the risks are, and you understand the massive systems in place to prevent them, you can make informed, confident decisions in your own kitchen. You take the power back. That wraps up our food safety mini-series on Beyond the Label. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden world of food science. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and always keep looking beyond the label.